I never thought my dream job would turn into the worst nightmare of my life. My name is Jessica. I am 29 years old, and until 6 months ago, I believed hard work and talent were enough to succeed in corporate America. I was wrong in a way that almost destroyed me. I work in marketing. Or rather, I worked in marketing at a mid-sized tech company called Vantage Solutions. It was one of those places that advertised flat hierarchy and innovation culture on their careers page while operating like a medieval court behind closed doors. When I got the offer letter 2 years ago, I cried. Not because the salary was life-changing, though it was decent, but because I finally felt like I had made it. I had a title, Senior Marketing Strategist. I had my own desk near a window. I had business cards with my name printed in clean sans serif font. My boss was a woman named Claire. Early 40s, sharp haircut, the kind of person who wore blazers even on casual Fridays. She interviewed me herself and said something I will never forget. I do not hire people who just follow orders. I hire people who think. I thought that meant she valued independence. Turned out it meant she wanted someone she could steal from without them noticing until it was too late. For the first year, everything felt fine. Good even. I worked on campaign strategies, pitched ideas in meetings, collaborated with the design and content teams. My metrics were solid. My projects performed well. People started coming to me for advice. Claire praised me in front of senior leadership once, calling me an asset to the department. I remember going home that day thinking I had finally found my place. The warning signs started small. It began with a project I had been developing for weeks, a complete rebrand strategy for one of our oldest product lines. The product was stale, the messaging outdated. I spent late nights researching competitor positioning, customer feedback, trend reports. I built a presentation with mock UPS, tagline options, a full rollout plan. I was proud of it in a way I had not been proud of work in a long time. I was supposed to present it in a meeting with the VP of marketing and a few other department heads. Claire told me the week before, "This is your moment, Jess. Knock it out of the park." The morning of the meeting, she sent me a Slack message. "Hey, can you send me your deck? I want to review it one more time before the presentation this afternoon." I sent it. No hesitation. She was my boss. That was normal. 2 hours later, she sent another message. "Change of plans. I am going to present this one. You have been working so hard lately, and I do not want you to burn out. I will handle it and give you full credit." Something in my gut twisted, but I talked myself out of it. She is looking out for me, I told myself. She is taking the pressure off. That is what good managers do. I was not invited to the meeting. I found out later from a coworker that Claire had presented my entire strategy, slide for slide, word for word, as her own work. When the VP asked a question about the customer data I had pulled, she answered it smoothly, like she had done the research herself. My name was mentioned once, in passing, as someone on my team who helped gather some initial information. I felt sick. When I asked her about it later, trying to keep my voice steady, she smiled and said, "Jessica, you need to understand how things work at this level. Ideas are collaborative here. You contributed, I synthesized. That is how teams function. You will get credit when the campaign launches." The campaign launched 3 months later. My name was not on a single piece of communication. Not the press release. Not the internal memo. Not even the project file in our shared drive. Claire got a bonus. I got a generic, "Thanks for your hard work" email. That was the moment I should have started looking for a new job. But I did not. I convinced myself it was a one-time thing. A misunderstanding. A weird political move I just did not understand yet. Then it happened again. This time it was a social media campaign concept I had pitched in a brainstorming meeting. It was quirky, a little risky, but the data supported it. Claire nodded along while I explained it, took notes, said "interesting" a few times. A week later, she presented the exact same concept in a meeting with the executive team. She framed it as something she had been thinking about for a while. When I brought it up afterward, she looked at me like I was being paranoid. "We all brainstorm together, Jess," she said. "Ideas come from the collective. You cannot claim ownership over a thought." But it was not a thought. It was a fully fleshed out strategy with audience segments, messaging pillars, and a content calendar I had built on my own time. I started keeping records after that. Every email I sent her, every Slack message, every document I created, I made a copy with timestamps. I did not know what I was preparing for, but some instinct told me I needed proof that my work was mine. Around the same time, I started noticing changes in how people treated me. Meetings I used to be invited to suddenly happened without me. When I asked why, Claire said, "Oh, we did not want to overload you. We know you have a lot on your plate." But my workload had not changed. If anything, I had more capacity than usual because two of my projects had been quietly reassigned to other people. Then there was Rachel. Rachel was hired about 4 months after the first incident. She was younger than me, 25, fresh out of a graduate program, bright-eyed and eager. Claire introduced her as a rising star and assigned her to work closely with me on a few campaigns. At first, Rachel seemed sweet. She asked a lot of questions. She wanted to learn. I liked mentoring her. It felt good to share what I had learned, to help someone avoid the mistakes I had made early in my career. But then I started noticing that information I told Rachel in private somehow made its way back to Claire in ways that made me look bad. I mentioned once, casually, that I was frustrated with how slow our design team was. A week later, Claire pulled me into her office and said she had heard I was difficult to work with and impatient with other departments. I told Rachel I was considering taking a class to brush up on data analytics because I wanted to strengthen that skill. 2 days later, Claire made a comment in a team meeting about how some people do not have the technical background we need for the direction we are heading. I started to realize Rachel was not just learning from me. She was reporting on me. The final warning sign before everything exploded came during a performance review. Claire sat across from me in a conference room, laptop open, her face carefully neutral. "Jessica," she said, "I want to be honest with you. Your performance has been inconsistent." I blinked. "Inconsistent?" I said. "I have hit every goal you set. I have delivered every project on time. I have gotten positive feedback from clients." She tilted her head slightly, like she was disappointed I was not understanding. "It is not about output," she said. "It is about attitude, leadership presence, team collaboration. There have been concerns." "From who?" I asked. "I cannot disclose that," she said. "But multiple people have mentioned that you seem withdrawn, defensive, not a team player." I felt my throat tighten. "Claire, I have been here 2 years," I said. "I have never had a single complaint before. What changed?" She gave me a thin smile. "Maybe you are just stressed," she said. "I think you should take some time to reflect on how you show up at work." She handed me a document. "This is a performance improvement plan," she said. 90 days. We will check in weekly. If things do not improve, we will have to reevaluate your role here. A performance improvement plan. A PIP. Everyone knows what that means. It is corporate code for, "We are building a case to fire you." I signed it because I did not know what else to do. My hands were shaking. I went back to my desk, locked myself in a bathroom stall, and cried so hard I thought I would throw up. That night, I could not sleep. I kept replaying every interaction, every meeting, every email, trying to figure out what I had done wrong. And then it hit me. I had not done anything wrong. I was being set up. Claire was not protecting me. She was erasing me. And she was doing it slowly, methodically, in a way that made me look like the problem so no one would question it when she finally pushed me out. I thought about quitting. Just walking away. Cutting my losses. But something inside me refused. I had worked too hard. I had given too much. I was not going to let her rewrite the story and make me the villain. So I made a decision. I was going to fight. Not loudly. Not messily. Quietly. Carefully. I was going to document everything, find every piece of proof, and when the time was right, I was going to make sure everyone knew exactly what Claire had done. I did not know yet how it would end. But I knew one thing for sure. I was done being the person who stayed quiet and hoped things would get better. If Claire wanted a war, she was going to get one. And she had no idea I had been keeping receipts the whole time. The first thing I did after that performance review was stop trusting anyone at work. Not because I wanted to be paranoid, but because I had learned the hard way that even people who smile at you in the break room can be feeding information to someone who wants you gone. I started operating like I was in enemy territory. Every email I sent, I BCC'd my personal account. Every meeting, I took detailed notes with timestamps. Every piece of work I created, I saved 3 ways: on my work laptop, on a personal USB drive, and in a cloud folder only I could access. I became obsessive about it. I would stay late after everyone left, not to work, but to quietly copy files and organize evidence. It felt insane at the time, like I was preparing for a trial that might never happen. Turns out I was. The performance improvement plan was brutal. Every week, Claire scheduled a 30-minute check-in with me. She would sit across from me with a legal pad and a pen, asking questions designed to make me stumble. "Walk me through how you approach this project," she would say. Then, no matter what I answered, she would write something down and say, "Interesting. That is not how I would have done it." Or she would ask, "How do you think the team perceives you right now?" which is a trap question. If you say, "Fine," you sound oblivious. If you say, "I think some people have concerns," you're admitting there is a problem. I learned to give answers that were technically correct but impossible to twist. "I have been focusing on delivering quality work and meeting deadlines," I would say. "I have not received any direct feedback indicating an issue." She hated that. One time she actually sighed and said, "Jessica, you're being very defensive right now. That is part of the problem." I wanted to scream. Instead, I smiled and said, "I am sorry if it came across that way. I am just trying to be clear." After every meeting, I would go back to my desk, write down everything she said word for word, and email it to myself with the subject line "PP check-in date," so there was a timestamp. I knew she was building a case. So I built one too. Around this time, I started noticing more active sabotage. Small things at first. I would be left off email threads I should have been on. When I asked about it, people would say, "Oh, I thought Claire was handling that." Files I had worked on would mysteriously get edited, and not always for the better. Once, a presentation I had finished the night before was opened the next morning with half the slides reordered in a way that made no sense. When I asked who had changed it, no one admitted to it. Claire suggested maybe I had forgotten to save the right version. I checked the version history. The edits had been made at 11 p.m. the night before from Claire's login. I took a screenshot. Then there was the meeting I was explicitly uninvited from. It was a big one. A quarterly strategy session with the executive team. I had been part of it every quarter since I started. This time, my calendar invite was canceled the morning of with no explanation. I walked up to Claire's office. "Hey," I said, trying to keep my voice even. "I noticed my invite for the strategy meeting was removed. Was that a mistake?" She did not even look up from her screen. "No," she said. "We decided to keep it to leadership only this time." "I have been in that meeting for 2 years," I said. "Things changed," she said. "You're on a PIP, Jessica. We need people in that room who are operating at full capacity." It was a slap. I nodded, went back to my desk, and wrote it down. Date. Time. Exact words. That afternoon, I found out from another coworker that Rachel had been invited to the meeting in my place. Rachel, who had been there 4 months. Rachel, who had never led a campaign on her own. Rachel, who Claire was clearly grooming to replace me. I went home that night and cried until my head hurt. Then I opened my laptop and started drafting a document. I called it Evidence Log. I listed every incident, every stolen idea, every meeting I was excluded from, every comment Claire made that contradicted her supposed concerns about my performance. I did not know what I was going to do with it yet, but writing it down made me feel less crazy. At least I had proof I was not imagining it. The breaking point came 3 weeks into the PP. I had been assigned to work on a new product launch campaign. It was high profile, the kind of project that could define someone's year. Claire gave it to me with a smile and said, "I am giving you a chance to prove yourself." I threw everything into it. I worked late every night. I coordinated with 5 different departments. I built a presentation that I knew was good, maybe the best work I had ever done. I did not just meet expectations. I exceeded them. The presentation was scheduled for a Friday afternoon. The CEO was going to be there. This was my shot to show everyone that the performance issues Claire kept talking about were fiction. Thursday night, I finalized everything. I uploaded the deck to the shared drive, sent Claire a courtesy email with the link, and went to bed feeling something I had not felt in weeks: hope. Friday morning, I got to the office early. I wanted to do a final run-through, make sure all the animations worked, maybe grab a coffee and calm my nerves. When I opened the shared drive, the file was gone. Not moved. Not renamed. Deleted. I checked my email, my local folders, my USB drive backup. The file was still there on my personal devices, but the version on the company drive, the one I had sent to Claire, was gone. My heart started pounding. I checked the version history. The file had been deleted at 6:42 that morning. By Claire. I felt like the floor had dropped out from under me. I called her. No answer. I sent a Slack message. No response. I walked to her office. She was not there. The presentation was supposed to start in 4 hours. I went to IT. Can you recover a deleted file from the shared drive? I asked. The guy looked at me sympathetically. Depends, he said. How long ago was it deleted? This morning, I said. Maybe 2 hours ago. He clicked around for a minute, then shook his head. If it was deleted by an admin, it bypasses the recycle bin, he said. It is gone unless we do a full system restore, and that takes days. Can you at least confirm who deleted it? I asked. He hesitated. I am not supposed to. Please, I said. This is my career. He looked around, then pulled up a log. Claire Donovan, he said quietly. 6:42 a.m. Can you email me that screenshot? I asked. He shook his head. I could lose my job, he said. I understand, I said. Thank you anyway. I went back to my desk, hands shaking, and opened the backup on my USB drive. I re-uploaded the presentation to the shared drive with a new file name, sent a mass email to everyone who was supposed to be in the meeting with the updated link, and copied HR on it. File was accidentally deleted this morning. Backup uploaded. Ready to present. 30 minutes later, Claire showed up. She walked into the office like nothing had happened, holding a coffee, chatting with Rachel. Hey, Jess, she said brightly. Ready for the big presentation? I stared at her. Did you delete my file this morning? I asked. She blinked, all innocence. What file? She said. The product launch deck, I said. It was deleted from the shared drive at 6:42 this morning. IT confirmed it was your login. She frowned, like she was trying to remember. Oh, she said. I think I might have clicked the wrong thing by accident. I was cleaning up old files. Sorry about that. Did you have a backup? Yes, I said. I did. Great, she said. No harm done. She walked away. I stood there, frozen, trying to process the fact that she had just lied to my face and was going to get away with it. The presentation went fine. Actually, it went better than fine. The CEO loved it. He said, "This is exactly the direction we need to go." Great work. I waited for Claire to say, "Jessica led this project." She did not. Instead, she said, "Thank you. My team and I worked really hard on it." My team and I. Not Jessica. Not even Jessica spearheaded this. Just my team. After the meeting, one of the VPs pulled me aside. That was a strong presentation, he said. I did not realize Claire was so hands-on with campaign development. She is not, I said before I could stop myself. I built that entire strategy. He gave me an awkward smile. Well, either way, great work, he said, and walked away. That night, I sat in my car in the parking lot and made a decision. I was not going to wait for the PP to end. I was not going to let her fire me on her terms. I was going to HR. And I was going to bring everything. I spent the entire weekend building my case. I printed everything. Emails where Claire asked for my work and then presented it as her own. Slack messages where she excluded me from meetings I should have been in. Screenshots of file version histories showing her edits to my presentations. The IT log showing she had deleted my product launch deck. Notes from every PIP meeting where she made vague accusations without evidence. Testimonials from clients praising work that I had done, but that Claire had taken credit for. By Sunday night, I had a binder 3 inches thick. I also had a timeline. A visual map showing the pattern. Every time I produced strong work, Claire would take it, rebrand it as hers, and then gasoline my reputation so no one would believe me if I complained. It was methodical. It was calculated. And now it was documented. Monday morning, I requested a meeting with HR. The HR director at Vantage was a woman named Angela. Mid-50s, always calm, the kind of person who made you feel like whatever problem you brought her could be solved with policy and process. I had only interacted with her a handful of times, mostly during onboarding and benefits enrollment. I walked into her office at 9 a.m. with my binder and my laptop. "Jessica," she said, smiling. "What can I do for you?" I sat down and placed the binder on her desk. "I need to file a formal complaint against my manager, Claire Donovan," I said, "for theft of intellectual property, retaliation, and creating a hostile work environment." Her smile faded. "That is a serious accusation," she said. "I know," I said. "That is why I brought evidence." I walked her through everything. The first stolen presentation. The social media campaign. The product launch deck she had deleted. The PP that appeared out of nowhere after 2 years of strong performance. The meetings I was excluded from. Rachel being brought in as my replacement. Angela took notes. She asked clarifying questions. She did not interrupt. When I finished, she closed her notebook and looked at me. "This is a lot," she said. "I am going to need time to review everything and speak with other parties." "Other parties," I repeated. "You mean Claire?" "I have to hear both sides," she said. "She is going to deny it," I said. "She has been denying it to my face for months. That is why I kept records." Angela nodded slowly. "I understand," she said. "But process is process. I will start an investigation. In the meantime, I need you to continue doing your job and avoid any direct confrontation with Claire." "She put me on a PIP," I said. "She is trying to fire me." "The PP will be paused pending the outcome of the investigation," Angela said. "You will not be terminated while this is ongoing." It was not the immediate justice I wanted, but it was something. I left her office feeling lighter and heavier at the same time. Lighter because I had finally said it out loud to someone with authority. Heavier because I knew what came next. Claire was going to find out. And she was going to come for me. I was right. 2 days later, Claire called me into a conference room. Rachel was there. So was another coworker named Derek, one of the senior guys on the team who had always been kind of neutral toward me. "Sit down, Jessica," Claire said, her voice ice. I sat. "I heard you went to HR," she said. "Yes," I said. "I did." "Without talking to me first," she said. "I tried talking to you," I said. "Multiple times. You dismissed me every time." She leaned forward. "Do you have any idea what you have just done?" she said. "You have put a target on your back. You have made yourself look like a disgruntled employee who cannot handle feedback. You have damaged your reputation in this company in a way you will never recover from." "I documented everything," I said quietly. "I have proof." She laughed. Actually laughed. "Proof," she said. "Jessica, you are on a performance improvement plan because your work has been subpar. You are defensive, difficult to manage, and frankly, you have been a liability to this team for months. If you think HR is going to take your side over mine, you are delusional." Rachel looked uncomfortable. Derek stared at the table. "Is there anything else?" I asked. Claire's jaw tightened. "You are dismissed," she said. I walked out of that room shaking. Not with fear. With rage. She had just threatened me. In front of witnesses. And I was going to make sure Angela knew. The investigation took 3 weeks. 3 weeks of walking into the office every day knowing people were talking about me. 3 weeks of Claire pretending I did not exist. 3 weeks of Rachel avoiding eye contact. 3 weeks of sitting at my desk doing busy work because I had been quietly removed from every meaningful project. It was humiliating. But I kept showing up. I kept doing my job. I kept my head down. And I kept collecting evidence. Because Claire made a mistake. She got sloppy. About a week into the investigation, I got a message from a coworker I barely knew. Her name was Simone. She worked in a different department, but we had collaborated on a project months earlier. "Hey," the message said. "Can we talk?" Off Slack. We met for coffee at a place 2 blocks from the office. I heard you filed a complaint against Claire, she said. Word travels fast, I said. I need to tell you something, she said. But I am scared. If this gets back to her, I am done. I will not say anything, I said. I promise. She took a breath. Claire did the same thing to me, she said. 2 years ago. I pitched a rebrand concept for one of our legacy products. She took it to leadership, presented it as hers, got promoted off of it. When I tried to push back, she started a whisper campaign. Told people I was difficult. Unprofessional. I ended up transferring to another department just to get away from her. My stomach dropped. Did you report it? I asked. No, she said. I was too scared. I did not have proof. I thought no one would believe me. Would you be willing to talk to HR now? I asked. She hesitated. If you do it, I will, she said. But I am not going first. I already did, I said. There is an active investigation. Her eyes widened. Then yes, she said. I will talk to them. That afternoon, I emailed Angela and told her there was another employee who had experienced similar issues with Claire. I gave her Simone's name. 2 days later, Angela called Simone in. And the cracks started to show. Because it turned out Simone was not the only one. Once word got out that HR was actually investigating Claire, other people started coming forward. Quietly. Carefully. But they came. A designer who said Claire had taken credit for a campaign visual concept. A junior strategist who said Claire had screamed at her in a meeting and then lied to HR about it. An intern who said Claire had asked her to send work files to her personal email, which was against company policy. Suddenly, it was not just my word against hers. It was a pattern. And patterns are hard to deny. Angela called me in for a follow-up meeting 3 weeks after I first filed the complaint. Jessica, she said, I want to thank you for bringing this to our attention. Based on the investigation, we have found multiple policy violations and credible claims of misconduct. My heart was pounding. What does that mean? I asked. It means Claire is being placed on administrative leave while we complete the review, she said. You will report directly to the VP of Marketing in the interim. Your PP has been formally withdrawn and removed from your file. And we're offering you the option to transfer to a different team if you feel you cannot continue working in the same department. I felt like I could breathe for the first time in months. What happens to her? I asked. Angela's face was unreadable. That is still being determined, she said. But I can tell you that the company takes these matters very seriously. Corporate speak for, she is probably getting fired, but we cannot say that yet. I walked out of that meeting in a daze. I had one. Not completely. Not yet. But I had one. That afternoon, I sent a Slack message to Simone. Thank you, I said. I could not have done this without you. Thank you for going first, she said. I should have done it 2 years ago. The next day, Claire cleaned out her office. I was not there to see it, but Derek told me later. She came in early, before most people arrived, and packed her things into a box. She did not say goodbye to anyone. She just left. Rachel, who had been Claire's shadow for months, suddenly acted like she barely knew her. I had no idea she was doing that stuff, Rachel said to me in the break room one day, as if we were buddies. I did not respond. I just walked away. Because I knew the truth. Rachel had known. She had been part of it. She had fed Claire information about me, helped isolate me, played the game. She just had not expected to be on the losing side. A week later, the official announcement came. Claire Donovan is no longer with the company. We thank her for her contributions and wish her well in her future endeavors. The most corporate way of saying we fired her and are not getting into it. People on my team were shocked. Some of them had genuinely liked her. A few even reached out to her privately to ask what happened. I did not care. I had my job. I had my reputation back. I had proof that I had not been crazy, that I had not imagined it, that it had been real. And Claire? Claire lost everything. Her job. Her reputation. Her credibility. I heard later from a mutual connection that she struggled to find work after Vantage. Turns out when you get quietly fired from a senior role, people ask questions. And when multiple former coworkers are willing to confirm you are a nightmare to work with, those questions do not have good answers. That was her karma. Not loud. Not dramatic. Just quiet, inevitable consequences. As for me, I stayed at Vantage for another 6 months. I worked under a new manager who actually valued my work. I got my name on projects again. I rebuilt my confidence. But I also realized something. I did not want to stay in a place that had allowed Claire to operate unchecked for years. A place where it took a formal investigation and multiple complaints for anyone to take us seriously. So I started looking. 3 months later, I accepted an offer at a competitor. Better title, better pay, better culture. On my last day at Vantage, Angela pulled me aside. "You did a brave thing," she said. "I hope you know that." "I did what I had to do," I said. "Still," she said, "a lot of people would not have fought." She was right. And I was proud of that. Because I learned something in those months of hell. Sometimes the system works. But only if you force it to. Sometimes people get away with terrible things. But only if no one calls them out. Sometimes standing up for yourself costs you everything. But staying silent costs you more.